Hey everybody, welcome back to another Nerds and Squares podcast presented by BP Fun. I'm the host with the most, Captain Zeus, followed by Lucky, our returning guest, Jacobite, and a new face here on the nerdiest podcast in the galaxy. We got Derek. Say hi to the folks, Derek.
Hello, folks. I'm Derek. How you doing?
I was not expecting that to sound so crispy. That was really good, actually. Maybe I'll just let you do the intro next time. That was really good.
All right, I'm a man of multi-talented.
Today we have a lot of nerdy news going around lately, Marvel and DC alike. Some things going on with some Marvel shows that not a lot of people are happy about, and some really disappointing news over in the DC Elseworlds. Oh, and we're going to start off with that. It did come out over this past, day and a half, maybe two, that Batman 2, or the Batman Part 2, whatever the title is, has been delayed essentially almost a whole year from its previous release date of 2025 to 2026. The reasoning being was lack of available stages during filming, as well as the script just not being ready during the writers and actors strike, which is unfortunate because that strike affected not only this project, but a lot of projects that were either in early development or filming at the time, such as Deadpool and Wolverine. And let's be honest, guys, this is probably one of the biggest bummer news that I could ever hear, because I know 2025, I was excited, right? We were going to have so many good things coming out that year, not only for DC, but also for Marvel. And to see that this is getting pushed back is a bummer. But at the same time, I think it's good that they're pushing it back a whole year to make sure they get this done right. They're kind of doing that with Blade, although Blade's been kind of like a production dumpster fire. I don't know. I kind of got mixed feelings about this one here, about whether or not, if this is really just a good thing, or if maybe they should have been prepared by now. I mean, Lucky, we'll start with you here. What do you think about this news?
Short, sweet, and simple. I trust Matt. I do trust Matt. I feel like a lot of I own the steelbook of the first movie, so there's a lot of the behind the scenes. There's a lot of conversations with Mr. Reeves, and you can tell that he's a really big fan of Batman, the character. You could tell that he really wants to do this trilogy the right way. So it is a bummer to me, because I'm so excited to go see what he does next with the character. But at the same time, I do trust him in the sense of, if he doesn't feel like it's on par with what his vision is, then, take that extra year. That's 12 months. That's a lot of time that he can go back and rework a lot of things. That's a lot of time to get it right. So for me, it's a mixed bag, to your point, Zeus. It is a bummer to a degree, but also I would rather a director take this approach and just say time out. Let's take another 12 months, 365 days to get this right. And that just shows to me that it means a lot to him. Watch the first movie. If you haven't, I mean, everybody and their brothers watched it by now, but it was fantastic. If it's not going the way that he wants it to go, and it's not up to his standards, then let it rip. Take the break, figure it out, rework whatever you need done, and come back and let's make sure that the second one expands upon the first, right? In this case, I'm not super worried about it. It's the first news we're getting of a delay for this film. It seems like it's under control. Obviously, it's something to keep an eye on and monitor, but I like it in the sense of, Reeves is behind it. He seems like he's got control over it, and, they're just like, hey, let's make sure we put out a product that people want to see. And that's kind of refreshing, right? We don't get that a lot. Sometimes they just throw shit at you. Be like, yeah, man, Madam Web. Hell yeah, brother. You know what I mean? Madam Web, you gonna get that shit. Yeah. We got Dakota Johnson out here going to therapy because of that shit. Like, damn, you don't want to act no more. I'd rather this approach than the opposite of this, which is just to kind of go through it and say, fuck it, whatever. That's all.
Yeah, I know you love talking about your favorite movie. I know it's so hard to not talk about it.
I love it because
Jacko, what you thinking? What you think about this news?
Look, we've talked about how products come out not finished or could have had more time to be worked on, and I think a lot of people can relate to the feeling of just take the time to finish and fix and perfect what you're working on before sending it out, because it's the worst. It's the worst. I think the downfall is how long it's going to take for the movie to come out. Obviously, the big time span between the first one and the second one is just going to be daunting. But at the same time, if you love the movie and any Batman fan, we've been waiting years We've been waiting years for many things. So, I mean, if you're still sticking around for DC, I mean, you can stick around for this movie. But again, a lot of points that Lucky said was correct. You know what I mean? It looks like it's in good hands. We can only expect good things from the delay, especially the love that's going to be put into it. The locations that they want will be available, hopefully, in due time. The script down to perfection, right? I mean, it's like you said, you shouted out a movie that it was a little wonky. You know what I mean? It was not good. It was not good. And that just shows you what happens when you push movies out, and you just push and you push and you push without doing the research, without doing the right cast, without doing the right dialogue, the right locations, the right anything. You know what I mean? The right equipment. So yeah, like I said, this could be a really good thing that they're taking the time to really put in the detail that needs to be done and what's supposed to be done for this movie to be better than the first one. And the last thing we need also is a second one to be the worse than the first. You know what I mean? It's a reoccurring situation when it comes to sequels. You're lucky to find a second one that's better than the first one, but hopefully this is the case where it is going to be better than the first one. And obviously some will think that's going to be hard to beat, but take the time, you might be able to do it, right?
Solid points. I do want to just throw in there one of the sequels that have been better than the first one, in my opinion, recently, and I think Lucky is on the same wavelength as me, is Dune. Dune Part 2. Fantastic sequel. If you haven't seen them, check them out. But yeah, that was a fantastic sequel, and that goes down to your point. Creators taking their time with the projects that they're passionate about, that they want to do. But yeah, we'll give this over to Derek. I have something else I want to ask you guys afterwards. But Derek, what do you think about this news here?
I think Lucky and Jacobite, they kind of nailed it right on the head. So there's not a whole lot that I can add, but there is one thing that I wanted to say is and it's that it's kind of like a double-edged sword with DC fans, right? People, they want a really good movie, but they want it right now. And so I think the delay, we can only expect good things coming from it. Let's be honest, DC over the years has been critically under the microscope. Every single film that comes out, everyone is hyper critical of the acting, who was cast in it, the story, just everything, the general cinematography. And so I think we can only get better by allowing us more time, like Jacobite said, like Lucky said, allowing the opportunity to just make sure that they have everything, all the I's dotted, all the T's crossed before they decide to release this film. I'm excited for it because I think this is a step in the right direction for DC. They've been floundering for a long time, and now we're also seeing on the opposite side of that, Marvel having a really difficult time as well, and they're pumping out movies on a consistent basis a lot faster than DC is. So I think this allows them a little bit of a grace period. They can just get everything lined up perfectly, and then boom, let's go. Let's build a bigger movie than the first one. I agree. I think there should be far more sequels that are way better than the first movie, because if the movie is the bar, you should always be pushing past that every time you put out another film. That's what gets you invested in a trilogy. That's why, like, you can go back into time and you can look at movies like Lord of the Rings and Star Wars, the original trilogy, and they just get better and better and better, and you're just like, I just want more. And so I think this is good news in a like a bittersweet way.
Wow, I mean, it's hard to really argue against that. I mean, I do only have a concern about the fact that none of this stuff is ready, right? Like, they've had this movie in the works for a while now, and it's 2024. Filming was supposed to be starting pretty soon, and now it's getting delayed, right? So that's just something that I've noticed as a trend. Like, we see that with, I mentioned it earlier, Blade, right? Has been just going through hell with just the script, the production, all of it. That movie, by the way, was supposed to have come out in 2023. Supposed to have been released then. It has now been delayed to 2026, that we've previously mentioned before. And it's just crazy. I agree that, yeah, they should definitely take their time and make sure that all the I's are dotted, all the T's are crossed. But at the same time, it's like, at what point, at what cost? Sometimes, I don't know, I wouldn't say scrap the project, because a lot of times it's like a lot of hype built up to it, right? But maybe it's just like, be better prepared? I don't know. It sounds like I'm being more cynical than what I mean, because it's like this, and this ties into one of the other points I was going to mention. Like, you know what you're getting into. Matt Reeves knew what he was getting into Batman Part 2 has probably been in the works since Batman Part 1. Like, this has probably been in the works for a while. So to hear that the script isn't ready is a little bit concerning, right? To hear that the filming sets aren't ready is a little bit concerning. And this ties into, what if the reason why it's not ready is because he's been working on the Arkham series? That series was originally going to be DC Elseworlds, non-canon. But then, as we previously talked about, James Gunn was like, yo, why don't you just make this for the DCU? And so now that series is going to be into the DCU. It's going to be canon in the DC Cinematic Universe. So what if that is an effect as to why this is getting delayed, why the script isn't as done? Because I'm sure he's been working on the Arkham series longer. And he also has the Penguin series coming out later this year. So that's 2 other series he's working on. Maybe he just had his hands full with all these projects. What if it was going to hurt more to have this release on schedule than it would have being delayed? Because it's like, this isn't how it should be. This isn't how I would like it to be because I'm working on these projects. But
The one thing, go ahead.
Sorry. You mentioned the Arkham project as well as Batman 2, and I think when we those are big name properties when you talk about it, because the first thing I think about is Arkham Asylum, the video game series, which is highly acclaimed. People love that. They hold it up on a pedestal. And then Batman. People love Batman. Everyone's got a different version that they love. If his focus is on those 2 projects, I think, like I had said, with the magnifying glass, the hyper critical awareness of these films and TV shows, the fans are going to expect a specific standard when you're putting these out. So I think it's important that, to me, it sounds like if the focus right now is on Arkham, it makes sense to make sure that is all buttoned up as best as you possibly can, because you know the fans are coming for you if it's not. And then you work on Batman 2. And if that means you got to push it back a little bit so you can make sure that you're 100% focused on getting Arkham completely nailed, I don't see the negative there. I mean, as a Batman fan, I want the content, but I also am willing to wait if it means that we're going to get good content. Now, if I'm going to be eating this fucking cast, I swear, if this movie ends up being terrible or Arkham is not great.
We'll have the video ready in case those events do transpire.
Fantastic. I'll keep the cast.
Yes, just preserve it in the refrigerator or something.
Jacko,
what do you think?
I was gonna say, like, and the concept of this, obviously, we've seen in Marvel, and it's been a very rocky, unbalanced situation, but having things in between these movies that are coming out, right, to tie us over until a big movie comes out. I hope that's the case, and we are getting a Gotham or a Arkham Knight or Arkham Asylum, whatever it's called. I can't remember.
It's just Arkham.
Arkham.
Just Arkham. For now.
I hope that's the case, where he has paused Batman for a minute due to circumstances out of his doing, well, besides the script, but locations wise, hopefully that is a sign that let's pause this for a minute. Let's get this Arkham out. Let's get that down to the point, and let's push that out so the fans of DC have something to hold on to and watch and get hyped about till Batman 2 comes out. You know what I mean? And hopefully that's the case, because I like that kind of tie-in, that kind of, here's a little something that's going to blow your mind, hopefully, until the next thing that blows your mind. You know what I mean? Because, again, I'm worried about the big, huge space in between. What are we getting till then? You know what I mean? And I know there's probably a few things that are on its way before Batman 2 comes out. Obviously, not what it was expected. But, yeah, I want to hold on to something until we get there. You know what I mean? Give me the hand of DC. You know, hold my hand and walk me to Batman 2, because I'd feel more comfortable and a little bit more, you know, we're addicts at heart when it comes to the fandoms of Marvel, DC, Star Wars, whatever it is, whatever you have absolute love for, you know what I mean? And I want some. Give me some. You know what I mean? Like, just give me some until you give us the big one. All right? Because, yeah, a year and something is a little too long for me to be just chilling waiting.
To your point, Jacobite, it's like I said, it's a double-edged sword. We want the content, but we want it now, and we don't want to wait. We don't want to wait a year. We don't want to wait 6 months. We don't even want to wait 3 weeks. We want it now, and that's the difficulty, right? Because we consume media so quickly now. It's not like it used to be where you watch TV, you watch one episode, and then you watch the next episode next week, and then you do that throughout the course of an entire season of a TV series, which can take up to 6 months, 8 months, depending on its airtime. Now it's uploaded onto a digital streaming service. You watch it, you binge it in 2 days, and then you're itching for that next hit because we're addicts. We love it. We want to consume it, and when we don't get that, we end up drying up like a crispy condom. It's terrible.
Shout out the captain.
Nice.
And
I swear to God, I said all of that just to get to the punchline.
I freaking knew it because when everyone saw me bust out laughing because of what Jacko said, I was like, I swear, if someone brings that up, I'm done.
I saw my chance and I took a shot right there. As soon as he said, "We're waiting for the big one," I was like,
dude.
This is my moment.
Nice play.
I wanted to do it for Lucky.
For the audience, it's an inside joke that happened literally 5 minutes before we started recording this. I'm not going to go into it in detail because some of our audience is probably not prepared to hear any of that, and so just know it is exactly how it sounds. But I do want to let you guys. I hope he doesn't. Something that is going to tie us over before I get over to Lucky's point is the Penguin series. Remember, that is coming out later this year, and it is taking place after part 1 of the Batman. It comes out after part 1, and then ties into part 2, where Kingpin, or the new Kingpin of Gotham, is Penguin supposedly. So that is something that we can be excited for, and kind of sate our hunger, so to speak. But Lucky, and I'm sure you got something else to say besides what Derek was talking about.
I mean, the crispy condom is fantastic. But
what
I would like to say, when I watched the Batman, the first Matt Reeves project, one of the first things that came out of critics' mouths when they were reviewing it was the world building and the way that Gotham felt and the way that it looked. So in terms of the sets not being ready, I think Matt Reeves is very specific, man. I think he's got this vision of what this movie's going to look like. He doesn't come off that. You know what I mean? The vision is the vision. And then to your point, Jacko, talking about Arkham and talking about Penguin and talking about, the Batman 2, that's a lot on a director's plate. Since Arkham is going to be in the DCU, that's a completely different world that he has to build in comparison to the Batman, right? And there's a lot that goes into that. We've seen Reeves is very specific. And, the vision that him and Gunn are creating for that DC universe, I think it's going to be fantastic. We've talked about it on a different podcast, but I feel like the vision's there and it's going to be very well thought out. But that is a lot for Reeves, right? And the Penguin too, those different types of settings that he's probably going to be in throughout the show that we haven't seen of Gotham, right? And there's a lot that goes into these things. So when we talk about a year off, I would love for the Batman 2 to come out tomorrow. I mean, that would be fantastic. There's a lot of respect, and I think a lot of us nerds and addicts for the love of DC and Marvel can respect people like Reeves and people that are willing to sacrifice the quick cash or the cash grab or whatever. If they hold on, this isn't what I was thinking. And again, I think to your point, Zeus, it gave me pause when I first read the report because the script not being ready. On first glance, I was like, whoa, what do you mean? But then we get into Arkham and we get into the Penguin series and we get into a lot of that. For all we know, in my honest opinion, I feel like the script was probably really good. I think it wasn't to Reeves' standard. And that's something that, he kind of took a look at and was like, with Arkham, with Penguin, with the Batman 2, I don't like it. It's not up to my standard. And of course, if we would have went with the script, of course, I would have still went and saw the movie. I'm sure millions of people still would have saw the movie, but to him, it wasn't enough. And that means something, right? He's spoken in detail about how much he loves the character of Batman. So I got nothing but positive things to say about what he's got going on. At the end of the day, his name's on it. You know what I mean? And that means something to him, which is something that a lot of directors can't say. I mean, they put out shit projects and then whatever, man. You know, it is what it is. Taika Waititi. Um,
Just about to
But-
say his name too.
but hey, you know, Matt Reeves is him. What can I say? He's him.
He's him. What an iconic way to end your segment there. One thing too that I think might affect DC is the fact that 2025 was going to be kind of a big year for the DCU and just DC in general, because that's our first DCU film coming out. Superman Legacy, well, formerly known as Superman Legacy, now just called Superman, is coming out still in 2025. We were also going to have Batman Part 2 in there, which I think that's two different aspects of the DC universe, canon and non-canon, both with beloved characters who kind of are the two focal points of the comics, period. Like, no matter where you're at in the comics, they're there, influenced, admired, mentioned somehow, some way. I think it would have been super cool to have them in 2025 still to come out, either at different ends of the year, which that also would have been like iconic or whatever, but just in general, you know, to help DC get that trust back from the fans, right? Like, yes, Matt Reeves is doing a great job with the Batman movie. A lot of high hopes coming in from the Penguin series. Yes, James Gunn did start to build that when he did Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, and now taking over for the DCU. But it's like, having those films coincide in the same year would have been dope. Because you also have, for Marvel coming out in 2025, you have Fantastic Four, which is supposedly going to be a huge movie, right? Supposedly is going to tie in with Secret Wars and Kang Dynasty as like one of the focal point movies, like Deadpool and Wolverine. You also have Captain America 4, which is undergoing reshoots, but still, we're going to have Red Hulk in there. We're going to be having our new Captain America make his debut to the world, like on the big screen. Like, there's going to be a lot to go in there. We're also having the Leader in there as well, which we saw teased at the end of Incredible Hulk. If you might have remembered that, I know that's a long callback, but he is returning, comic accurate look and all. But I mean, a lot of good things cooking for both sides of the fight here. And then with Blade getting pushed back to 2026, supposedly Moon Knight Season 2 is going to come out in 2026. Supposedly Midnight Suns project's coming out in 2026. And now Batman getting delayed to 2026. Maybe blessing in disguise. Maybe it's a good way to combat the Marvel hype, if you will. Because if those projects still come out and are still confirmed to happen, those are big W's for Marvel. And Daredevil, the Born Again, is undergoing filming. I think that's slated to release in 2025 or 2026. I can't recall either or, but tying into one of the other points we're going to talk about, Punisher is for sure going to be in it. We are going to see Punisher in Daredevil Born Again. There was a post by John Bernthal on his Instagram page, which was a screenshot, picture, whatever, of the 1-batch, 2-batch book that the Punisher read to his daughter in the OG Netflix Daredevil series. That's obviously him teasing he's going to be returning. We all kind of knew he was going to be coming back for Daredevil Born Again because it was him. We're going to see Bullseye, Kingpin. We're going to see new characters like White Tiger, Muse. Like, it's basically just a great culmination of Netflix era and the MCU era coming together in this series, which I think is fantastic. That also is just, whenever that comes out, you already know that's going to be a huge W for Marvel there. I know I'm excited. I love the Daredevil series. I'm sure we've talked about this several times, and I don't think we're ever going to stop talking about it. Daredevil was great. All 3 seasons, I loved it. Punisher, I thought was good. Could have been better, but I still thought was good. Like, all of the Netflix era shows were, except for Jessica Jones season 2 and 3, were really good, right? Like, honestly, they were just such good content. And this, I don't want to say boosts me up a bit, but it does give me a glimmer of hope for Marvel. They're slowing it down, almost matching the pace of DC, if you will, with how much less content. I mean, obviously they said they're going to go quality over quantity and reduce the amount of content they're posting, but it's almost at the exact same match and speed as DC is doing. James Gunn, I know I'm going all over the place. James Gunn in November of 2022, when he announced the chapter 1 of the DCU, was like, we're going to do maybe 2 movies a year and then maybe 2 shows a year max. And that seems to be the same pace for Marvel. So, I mean, this rivalry is really cooking. Honestly, I'm really liking the direction of both for the most part. We're going to get into the Marvel side of things in a little bit here, but about everything I just said, I know there's a lot to unpack there. You might want to get your ribbons untied to see that full package there. But, you know, what do you guys think about that?
Honestly, I think in the next couple of years, we will be seeing, obviously, either on TV or in the box office, we're going to be seeing Marvel versus DC because, like you said, there's a lot of bangers coming out. And this moment here coming up is bringing Marvel back to life. Is supposedly, right? That's what the goal is. That's what they're trying to come back from the dead. But so is DC. Both companies are kind of starting from what they would call their own bottom and trying to rise above with some great characters and great movies coming out and great TV shows. And with the pace, we could be seeing back to back. And hopefully that's the case, because, then we're really getting spoiled. Again, we'll see who wins through the battle of quality, because that's what their goal is. And if it was paced to 2 movies a year and 2 TV shows a year, I think that's good. That might even be good, or even just 1 TV show, 2 movies, 1 movie, 2 TV shows. It doesn't matter. Just in that little area there of that's enough. That's enough, right? I think that's enough to tie us into the next year, where we get excited for all the other stuff that's coming out. Again, we're coming from being overspoiled and maybe way overdone and too much to a complete halt. And that's what hurts the most. But with this rejuvenation, hopefully this gives both companies a big boost and a lot of people hyped and happy to see some of their favorite characters come to life.
Derek, I know you want to say something. Go ahead.
I just wanted to add that if we were having this conversation, even like within the last 10 years ago, I would have said there's no way that DC has a dog in this fight. But with everything that's been happening with Marvel over the last few years, inundating us with a lot of, in my opinion, subpar content, and then a couple just crowning jewels, I have this is good news for DC going forward, right? I mean, there was a lot of questionable thoughts and opinions about Gunn resetting the DC universe, and I'll be honest with you, I wasn't 100. Like, I love James Gunn, not 100% sure I trust it. I'm still not sure. I'm trying to have very small expectations going into this over the next couple of years, because you just never know. But with that in mind, I'm excited. We're getting all this new content, and it looks like, at least from the DC side of things, that they're willing to take the time to make sure that they're making good quality products and put them out there. I think Lucky is probably close to right that the script for Batman 2 was probably subpar, or it was good and it just needed some workarounds, especially if it's going to tie in any way to Penguin. That's a long story over a TV series and a movie that you have to make cohesive and tangible, so it makes sense. And then on Marvel's side, I can appreciate the fact that they've been listening to the feedback and they've been looking at their bottom line, going, hey, you know what we're putting out is we like it, but it's not making the money, and it's not making the fans happy. And it's you kind of see Marvel shifting as well, not necessarily resetting, but in their own way, kind of going back to their roots and creating some good content that we are asking for, that we want. So I'm excited to see what happens. And like Jacobite had touched on, it'll be interesting, because it's been a long time since I felt like there's been a DC versus Marvel war within the cinema, especially because DC was down and out for so long.
Going back to the roots, great focal point there from your point. I know that's something Lucky has been preaching about for a long time, and Lucky, you're about to burst with some type of emotion. Go ahead and tell us what you're thinking, Slick.
So I've been on record with, I believe James Gunn is going to make the DC universe absolutely slaughter the MCU, but I also think this is a blessing for Marvel. And to your point, there is reason to have kind of cautious optimism when it comes to a universe restarting. I think he's gonna fucking kill it. I think Marvel knows it too. I think this is what needed to happen to Feige. He needed to lose Gunn, and Gunn needed to step away and say, fuck this. You know what I mean? Watch this. Because then, to your point, Zeus, they're almost mimicking DC now, right? Now we're kind of setting up with, if we get 2 movies from DC, 2 shows a year, and then we get 2 movies and 2 shows from Marvel a year. That's the same amount of content coming from both those 2 powerhouses, and you get to decide for yourself which one outshine the other. And I think it's great for DC to have this reset and to have somebody that is so dedicated to the comics. And I think it's also exactly what Marvel needed, because I think if James Gunn didn't take over DC and didn't set the plan the way that he has set the plan in motion, I think Marvel would still be pumping out a lot of garbage. And that's just my take on it. I feel like they had to get back to that Netflix original series. People were clamoring for years about Charlie Cox and John Bernthal and the boys getting back together. And they didn't do shit. But all of a sudden now, when James Gunn's like, yeah, we got Matt Reeves making Arkham. Yeah, we're going to come out with Creature Commandos. Oh, by the way, Superman's coming. And we got Batman Brave and the Bold and all that. Marvel's like, time the fuck out. What are you talking about? You know what I mean? mean? Like, what is happening right now? We just got done filming fucking Vision and Wanda, you know what I mean? The Wanda Vision. Like shit, you know what I mean? What the hell's going on? So I think this is exactly what both of these companies needed, which I think sets up for a very gladiator-esque couple years we have down the road. I really believe that. I'm excited to see in terms of Daredevil. Obviously, we got White Tiger. I've seen some leaks, unfortunately, and now I got to spoil it for you guys. We're on the podcast. There was a leak of John Bernthal's Punisher. I don't know if you guys have seen it. He shot White Tiger, and that was something that was kind of leaked. Was like there's a clip of like White Tiger running down this alley, and John Bernthal kind of steps like not in front of him, but when he runs behind him, he steps out from behind the shadows and just like one shot, and like the person collapsed. So I don't know exactly what that means. I don't know if we're getting 2 White Tigers in the series potentially, because I do know that the OG. Go ahead, Zeus. You take it.
I do want to mention this is actually something I had to report last week or the week prior, that it was rumored that we're going to have a White Tiger series following the female version of the White Tiger character, a little bit more infamous version that everyone knows. So it's funny you mentioned that clip getting leaked, because if these two things are to believe to be 100% accurate and concrete and staying in play, then it makes sense that John Bernthal's Punisher mows down the male White Tiger and the female one's born, and we're getting a series off of that, which does tie into another point I do want to mention. But do you want to go ahead and finish your thought there, Lucky?
I was going to say, man, is I'm excited. I'm excited for both these companies. I think this was a much needed reset for DC. I think the MCU needed to kind of take a long look at themselves. Because I hate the way that fans say that there's superhero burnout. There's not superhero burnout in my opinion. I think people are starting to understand that the product is not matching what they're paying from their wallets. I think that's what's happening. Because you can tell a million different superhero stories that a certain group of people are going to attach to and they're going to love. So I don't believe in like that whole burnout thing. I genuinely think that that's a cop-out for you MCU junkies. I think you guys like to call it that, when in reality, Kevin Feige is shitting the bed. And let's just call a spade a spade. If he was putting out good content, I know you sappy motherfuckers would be there. I know it. I know you guys would be there. You guys would be the first ones on Twitter. I couldn't even get my football shit out without hearing somebody say some dumb shit. You know what I mean? But, Zeus, back to you. And by the way, Eternals were not that good.
Don't even freaking start with that BS, all right? That's another episode we're going to go over, all right? Don't think I haven't forgotten about that. We're targeting me like this. Disrespectful. Unbelievable. You know what? Woosah. Anyways, Derek, Jacko, anything else you guys want to add before I tie us into this next point?
I'll just go ahead and say, Lucky, I think you're right in the sense of there's not a superhero burnout. Absolutely not. I think if anything, we want more superhero stuff. We just want it to not be more reimagined bullshit. And that seems to be often what happens is someone gets their hands on these properties and they reimagine it. Here's my version of Batman and my version of Superman and what I would do if I had these superheroes at the helm. And the problem with that is it doesn't often work. It really doesn't. The people love these characters, since the 50s. There's a reason why they have stood the test of time. And you can look even just at the comic book. This isn't exclusive to just TV shows or movies. This is comics. I mean, I read a lot of DC comics, and look what happened with the New 52 years ago. It was a big miss. I mean, there was a couple good comics, but in my opinion, and by the fact that the New 52 is gone, it wasn't good. We didn't need the reimagining of all these stories and these superheroes that we already know and love. I just wish and I hope that these production studios continue to listen to us. They continue to make good content. And like we said earlier, Marvel versus DC, that can be one incredible war that we are on the cusp of witnessing. And the only people that are going to win and gain from it, really, it's us, the fans, the people. And I'm here for it. I'm really excited about it. And yeah, that's all I had to think, or all I had to say.
I'm glad you thought it. Jacko, anything to add?
No, not really. Just I loved the Netflix series and that they weren't canon at one point, and all of a sudden they are. It's good to hear that they're listening. I don't know if I'm not going to say the words that they're not thinking. Okay, maybe they're not fucking listening to us. Okay, this just supposedly is happening. But the Netflix shows were great. They were fucking great, and I want to see more. The Punisher, I loved the Punisher. Daredevil was great. I know a lot of people didn't like Iron Fist. I enjoyed it.
Loved it.
But yeah, I thought it wasn't, I don't think it was supposed to be.
It wasn't supposed to be Daredevil. That's the biggest comparison
It
people
wasn't
did.
supposed to be like the rest of them. You know what I mean? It was, I don't know. I guess because, I don't know. I guess I kind of related to it a little bit. You know what I mean? And
Oh, so you were also a rich white kid that crashed in a plane over by this.
okay, no,
Oh.
just the white part. But
I guess I can only half relate then.
It's because you took an Iron Fist before, isn't it?
I mean, sure. If you want to put that into your minds, you know, we can Brokeback Mountain this shit. Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. What I would do to be a fly in that tent.
Lucky, you had something to add, didn't you?
My biggest thing, man, and it just goes back to, you know, people gotta buck the fuck up. And what I mean by that is, like, you gotta stop calling it burnout, man. You gotta be able to call something trash if it's trash, and that's the biggest thing. Instead of calling it burnout, instead of saying, because I've heard several people say this, right? Maybe it's just me, maybe it's just whatever. No, you're watching a bunch of CGI shit with no story behind it. You know, call it what it is. It's okay to not agree with this company. Trust me, they're fine. You know what I mean? Trust me, Marvel's doing fine. It's okay to not like something. I feel like people have lied about it a lot. So just be honest with it. If you don't like something, call it out. It's not burnout. Don't give me that excuse shit. No, what you watched wasn't good. Because I guarantee you go home and you watch the fuck out of some stuff that you like. You know what I mean? Like, I know my dad can watch Jack Ryan 1,000 times over and not get bored. You know what I mean? It is what it is.
It's a great show.
Absolutely. Burnout doesn't exist. You watched shit. That's what it is.
I mean, maybe we'll have a whole nother podcast episode going in a deep dive into it, because it does seem like we all have some very strong opinions in relation to it. And I think it's a very common topic that has been brought up but not necessarily discussed enough. Hence, it's still being circulated around even till this day. I will say, going back to something I mentioned earlier, tying into another topic we wanted to talk about here, was the fact that we are getting a White Tiger series. This begs the question, why do I care? Why should anyone care? Why do we even need a White Tiger series? This goes down to something that we've brought up either during this podcast and or before, where they will, and by they I just mean like Marvel specifically in this instance, but companies in general, will make content that no one's asking for, no one's really particularly interested into, but they're kind of making you want to, or they're trying to force you to be interested in it, i.e. the Agatha series. That's another one that no one really asked for, nor should be made. This show has gone through its now 4th title iteration. It went through the House of Harkness, the Coven of Chaos, the Darkhold Diaries, and now it's just straight Agatha. That's a lot of different titles. Why do we have so many title name changes? That's not really what I'm trying to talk about here. Why do we even have this series being made? Sure, she was a semi-interesting character that some people might be like, oh, MILF, but whatever. But like, honestly, it's like, there wasn't enough to that character to really make me want to have a whole series dedicated to. Maybe later on when we have her tied into other people's series, into like the more supernatural, then we can get something off of her. But she's a villain. Let's not make her a misunderstood hero, which they seem to do all the freaking time. And we don't need to continue this trend of series of characters that we're not wanting or asking for. We still have an Ironheart series in the works, by the way. A character almost nobody likes, whether she was in the comics to begin with or in the MCU, nor did anyone ask for this series. We have the White Tiger series that is supposedly in development. We have this one. When you think Marvel's doing good, they're coming out with Deadpool and Wolverine, we got Blade, we're getting Moon Knight Season 2, Captain America 4, etc., etc., and then they're coming around and they're kind of like contradicting themselves, and they're coming out with Agatha, Ironheart, White Tiger. Like, it frustrates me, because it's like I got my hopes up just to trip and fall down the stairs. At what point should I stop caring? But I mean, I don't know. That's kind of just my thoughts on just like these shows, because I'm starting to just not want to watch any of them, except for like obviously certain ones like Moon Knight, Falcon and Winter Soldier if we get a sequel, etc., etc. Like, those really good series. I'd like to see more of it. But I'm not going to go watch a new character show because, oh, it's Marvel. Ties into what Lucky says, where it's just those MCU addicts snorting up anything that they bring out. They're like, oh my gosh, best thing ever. But yeah, what do you guys think about this? The fact of these shows coming out that we didn't really ask for?
I mean, I think it's funny the name change 4 times for Agatha, just because that's classic Disney in the sense of almost all their TV shows now are just they're just resorting to first names. Ahsoka, Loki, like it's just
You're not wrong.
Agatha, like, oh my god. All right, well, it is what it is. I agree to a degree. There are lots of TV shows that come out on both sides, and like both sides of the spectrum. Whether you're looking at Marvel, you're looking at DC. Lots of TV shows. Like, I was not really that interested in Legends of Tomorrow. I know it's really good. A lot of people were interested in it. I don't know. I didn't watch it.
I don't want to talk about the CW era. All right, that's a different garbage can we can kick open.
Well,
another day.
yes and no. There's some gems in there too. But my point is that I didn't really like. As a DC fan, I didn't give a shit to watch anything about the Atom. Why make me care? And then, you know, on the opposite side of the spectrum, it's the same thing, right? There's I don't know. There's a lot of TV shows that Marvel is planning to make, like you mentioned, White Tiger. I don't even think I've ever read a White Tiger comic. I'd have to do my own research before I'd have to even watch the pilot episode. I'd have no idea what I'm getting myself into. I'd probably be thinking I'm watching some 80s rock and roll band about to do a music video. But anyways,
sounds about accurate.
I digress. Agatha, though, I find mildly interesting only because of WandaVision, which was also, to be fair, and to your point, a TV show that I was only slightly interested in seeing. I didn't ask for it. I didn't want a Wanda TV show. I didn't want a TV show about Vision. I was skeptical going into watching it, and I actually came out of it going, this was a really enjoyable one-shot. This was fun. I felt like I was taken on a trip, and I don't need to take that trip again. That's the problem. That's the problem with that show, and that's also the problem with some of their movies. Because let's be real. I look at, like, I love Infinity Wars. I think I've watched it twice. It's not my go-to. I'm not gonna throw it on for 3 hours, and you know what I mean? I've been on that journey. I don't need to take that trip again. If I want all the shiny jewels and the crazy CGI, I'll just take a hit of LSD and we'll call her a night. But
I think this is the legal thing to do, though.
Depends on how you subscribe to your Netflix, or your Disney Plus. But realistically, only slightly interested in Agatha, but it fades. You know, there will be a day where, like, I'm not going to be actively following it. I'm not going to know when it comes out that it's out. It'll be one of those days where I'm bored and I'm going to go on to Disney Plus to watch some Boy Meets World while I have my morning coffee and reminisce about how good the 90s were. And then I notice the little graphic that says Agatha's on there, but it's probably retitled something else now. I don't know, MILF Agatha. And then I decide, hey, you know what, this looks great, let me grab the lotion, and I put it on. And next thing you know, we're sitting here and we're having another conversation about how that was a great one-shot journey, but did I really need to take it?
Yeah, that's what she said.
You've been talking to my exes, haven't you?
Look, I can neither confirm nor deny any of the statements made here in this podcast episode. All I can say is, Jacko, what do you think?
I think it's completely unnecessary. Yeah, sure. I liked a lot of the shows. To a point, I've heard Echo was good, but there's a reason why I haven't watched it yet. I haven't been invested in it. I have no idea who she is besides the little cameos she had in Hawkeye.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about it, though. I mean, like, I heard it's great, right? And sure, I'll watch it at some point. But right now, I'm not running to my TV to watch it. There were some shows that I was running to my TV to watch. Agatha's not one of them. She's hot. But again, I think I can go on with my life without seeing that show. And I think, and to my point of the answer is because, again, we've also been catered so much to the timeline and everything connecting that if that's not connected, I'm not going to watch it.
Good point.
I'm not going to watch it. You know what I mean? Like, you can't do that. You can't just now pop out shows that don't connect, yet you've been doing this the whole time. You know what I mean? You've been making us find Easter eggs. You've been making us see where the tie-ins come. You've been making us want to rewatch these shows and go back to rewatch them because future shows connect with the past shows. You know what I mean? Like, there's always going to be things you miss. So I got to go back and watch that because I totally forget that happened here. There's always a reason. They've always given you a reason to go and watch them again or get hyped for what's coming. Again, maybe Agatha does connect, maybe it doesn't, maybe it's just a side story, but guess what? After season 1, it's not going to go anywhere. She's not going to be in Secret Wars, is she? Probably not. I don't think so. Maybe. I don't know. But that's the reason. I have no idea, and I don't care. But that's the thing. They need to invest sometimes, maybe on certain characters that they just pop on you and then be like, you got to watch our show. I'm like, I don't think so. I got other shows to rewatch. That's the thing. I've seen some shows 12 times. I've watched the show Lost about 25 times. And guess what? It's amazing every time. I'd rather go do that for the 26th time than go watch Agatha. So stop giving us these side stories that have an end connection, like the connection is split. That's not going to go anywhere. Don't do it then. You know what I mean? We're not at this point. You know what I mean? When a story ends, then maybe start creating a side universe that is just based off of something else. I mean, I could keep going on and on and on with a description that doesn't make any sense of what I'm trying to say. But
we're catching what you're throwing, man.
My point is just, if it doesn't connect, don't bother me. Yeah. That's the point I'm at, because you've given me so much connections and rewatchable. You know, it might not be good, but you're rewatching it because you want to relive it to remember why that's happening and that's happening, and it all started here. It's a roadmap, right? And if it steers too far off, I'm not getting lost, you know?
Like the show.
There you go.
Go ahead.
I love the idea of the roadmap, but the biggest problem with that is only the fact that good storytelling shouldn't allow you or force you to have to go back and rewatch something so you get caught up. They should be inserting that into the story. So I agree 100%. Connect your shit. If you're gonna make me care about the timeline in Loki season 2 for 6 weeks, and I was invested, and you're gonna bring out another Marvel TV show, it should connect in some way. But then also, while I'm watching this new show, I shouldn't have to go back to rewatch a whole season of the last show and the show before that, or 2 seasons of this show so I can get caught up with that. If I want to do that so I have a refresher, that's good. But I don't feel like I should have to do it. The good storytellers, they're just gonna make sure that you got all the information that you need right there served to you in that episode. Which
I think it's also a tactic, though. It's also a tactic where it's forcing you, not forcing, it's putting a seed in your mind to want to go or feel like you want to go back and rewatch these things, which is why they keep getting sold on whatever, or keep getting views, because you got to have some kind of rewatchability. I mean,
it's like fast food.
If you know it's shit, it's shit. You're not going back to it. There's no bother. But there's some where you're like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to restart watching it. I'm going to go right back to the beginning because I want to see the connection happen. If it's your first time going through the MCU, right?
Well, no, you make a good point, because I had mentioned earlier that I feel like a lot of these new TV shows, they have no rewatchability. They're a one shot. You watch them. Some of them are great. Love Loki season 1 and 2. Do I ever get the itch to just go back and rewatch it just cause? Not really. It's not on my list. You know what superhero movie, and there's only one that is on my rewatch list every single year.
The Dark Knight.
And it's Smallville.
Yeah. You said movie.
TV series. Did I say movie?
You said movie.
Oh, my bad. Well, no, Smallville is the only TV series that I feel like has any rewatchability in the terms of the superhero world. I can go back there and I want to go back and rewatch it, relive it. It's fun, it's enjoyable, and it's got a nice cohesive story over a course of 10 seasons, and it's fun. I don't need to watch something else in its place. It gives me everything that I need. When I look at a lot of these new Marvel TV series, it's like I said, it's a one shot. So to Jackie's point, I agree, but I also wish that they just made sure that we were given all the information on the same plate in the episodes or the seasons that we're watching.
Solid point, Lucky.
I don't care. The biggest thing with me is I've watched Peaky Blinders 18 times. That's one of my favorite shows of all time. I can rewatch it at any given point. I love the story. It boils down to, you're not giving me anything. Sure, Rambo was in WandaVision, and now she's in the Marvels, but you didn't tell us shit about Rambo and WandaVision. So what the hell am I watching in the Marvels? You know what I mean? Like, what the hell? Why am I supposed to care about her? And it goes that it stems further than like just that one coincidence. It's like what I hope they do with White Tiger is if they're smart and they're gonna make a White Tiger show, you're going to give us something in the Daredevil series. Don't make that one scene of the motherfucker getting shot by Punisher like the only thing. Let me care about this person. Let me see what this person's life's like. I don't know anything about White Tiger, nor do I really care. But make me care. That's your job. That's not my job to find a way to give a shit about what you're making. That's your job. Unless you give me something to care about, I'm not going to care. I've yet to see Loki season 1 or 2. To me, I loved his character arc throughout the movies, and I thought when he died to Thanos, that was a great send-off, in my opinion, when he died. And that was kind of like right where I wanted it to be for him, you know, and that was something that I felt like Tom Hiddleston pulled off really well. You saw it a lot in Ragnarok. I thought that was one of the biggest things of Ragnarok, was kind of his coming of age throughout that movie, and learning to not be best friends with Thor, but rather respect him. And the mutual respect between the brothers was really cool to see late in that film. So for me, it was like, what is the purpose of Loki season 1 and 2? And I know obviously you're going to have the TVA, I believe, and Deadpool Wolverine. That's going to play a factor. And it might be a good show, but I just don't care enough to see it. You know, I feel like Loki is a great character on the big screen, and I think he served his purpose. And that goes for like Vision and Wanda too, right? I've seen WandaVision and I enjoyed WandaVision, but to your point, like, I don't need to see it again. I'm not clamoring to go watch it again. And that's something that the rewatchability is what matters to me when it comes to shows, especially, because I want to feel like I care about these characters. And I've really never cared about Scarlet Witch. Like, never. Like, in the MCU, outside of maybe when she lost her brother.
Not even the fanfic?
Not even the fanfic. Like, to me, I love her in the comics. I think her character in the comics is very like an onion. It's got layers. You know what I mean? Like Shrek. But in the MCU, I feel like she's just like this chick that falls in love with a robot and then is mad that she can't have kids because she married a fucking robot, and now she's spiraling out of control because she lost said robot. And it's like, you know, I don't know, man. It just, to me, that's very surface level shit. And I think for a character like Wanda, you have to dig much deeper for her, because it's about more than that. Like, she never talks about Quicksilver until when he appears in WandaVision. Like, after he dies in, what was that, Ultron, I think he passes away in. It's like, that's not something for her. The rest of the movies she's in, it's just kind of like, hey, yeah, cool, I'm an Avenger, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, dude, I'm doing this shit. Yeah, I love that red robot. That's what it is. And to me, I need something deeper. I need you to make me care. That's all it is, man.
It's a valid point you make. I never thought about it, how her story arc is very simplistic and kind of bland compared to her comic counterpart. I mean, there's no incest, right? You know, there's no Magneto. You know, there's no Game of Thrones freaking House of M style stuff that's going on here. You ain't got none of that. You just got a lady who's mad at Thanos, and Thanos don't even know who she is. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of crazy. Also, dude, I don't know how you were spitting that fire with a straight face earlier too, dude. Like, I know Derek was dying.
Oh my god, dude, that I'm in love with the red robot. I mean,
yeah.
No, but this does tie into like one of the last points we'll talk about here, because I know it's getting late for us, about shows not connecting, them coming out with stuff that it's like, do we need to go watch the previous stuff to really know? Because we see that with their current shows that like none of them connect with each other. None of them really connect with future MCU projects. Some do with past MCU projects, but not really. They're all like brand new characters coming out. And instead of making series about characters we've already built off of in the previous phases, i.e. like the kid from Iron Man 3. Everyone would have loved to have him as Iron Lad. I'd been cool with him trying to deal with the fact that Tony's dead, him trying to, you know, struggle through college or something, maybe high school, you know, really deal with that. That would have been a cool series. And at the end, he's Iron Lad, goes to form the Young Avengers. That would have been dope. Instead, we have Ironheart.
They brought him back for Endgame, didn't they?
They brought him back for the funeral. He just stands there.
So, yeah. I mean, like, there's got to be a point to it. There's no point in bringing that kid back for 5 seconds.
You know what their point was?
A moving camera. You could just, I don't know. You could have just, brought some random kid in and be like, he grew up. That's him. That's what he looks like now.
The reason why they did that was because now we have Ironheart that no one asked for. And it's just like, I see that a lot. And it's another turnoff for me with these shows where it's brand new characters that don't really tie into anything specific, or they're just characters that really weren't built off of, like Jacko was saying, Echo. That character did not need her own show. Sure, she was just there. I thought her character was intriguing. I didn't think she was good enough to get her own show. Don't get me wrong, I'm not hating on the actress. Actress is dope. She's also fine. I don't care. But she didn't need her own show. And I watched the show. I had to do a review on it, unfortunately. It was not as good as it was hyped up to be, nor as what people were saying. There were some visual issues, which Marvel has with just their projects in general. The storyline was decent. Honestly, the real thing that was carrying it was Kingpin and his story. But that's because this Kingpin isn't even the MCU built Kingpin. This is the Netflix version of Kingpin they brought over. This is a whole nother character with past that we've already been introduced to. A storyline that's carrying over, not even from Echo originating something new. This is carrying over from the Hawkeye series. So this series is just nothing but a fart of old projects. It was just not needed. And something else that I personally didn't really think was needed was X-Men 97. I know a lot of people loved the X-Men OG series. I enjoyed it. I thought it was cool. Rogue was one of my favorite characters for obvious reasons, but it was just like, dude, they're like, okay, we're coming out with X-Men 97, and a lot of people were overjoyed. And then I heard that the animators that did the What If series are behind it. And then you hear that they're starting to do a lot of changes with some of the characters. But then you hear that a lot of the voice actors are returning. And then you hear that the creator and writer of the series, who also finished writing season 2 and was starting season 3, has just been fired. Red flag, everybody. Red flag. Why the frick do you fire the creator of this series that has already written your season 2 and started writing your season 3 1 week before the show premieres? No word whatsoever as to why this person was fired. Some speculate that it has to do with a domestic violence type of issue that Marvel's just trying to get ahead of, which I think would be wild that they just keep hiring people that are abusing people. That's some kind of weird track record with Disney. Some speculate it had to do with creative differences. I don't think that's the case. But I mean, at the same time, there's been people that within Marvel who will have these issues with Marvel, whether it's some kind of behind the scenes stuff, whether it's personal stuff, and they don't fire them a week before. They just slowly just not have them part of the promo as much, fade them out, move them to another project, or just say that they're not coming back for the rest of it, right? Not with this one. It was announced that this guy's gone, no word. Like, you look at like Hollywood Reporter, all of Deadline, all the articles, you get like a paragraph saying, oh, this is this guy's backstory, but we have absolutely no clue as to why he was fired. This is just not a good sign with the Marvel TV show trend, where it's like the promos are so good, they're advertising this to be so good, but then all the behind the scenes stuff, all the stuff that's actually about the show, signals red flags. So I mean, I don't know, what do you guys think about the creator not leaving willingly, getting canned after he's written season 2 and started writing season 3 of this series, who also worked on Moon Knight and supposedly the early drafts of the Blade movie? Lucky, I'll give it to you. Big. I'm just kidding, Derek.
Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead, Lucky.
I don't care. It's gonna be an iconic thing through this. I don't give a shit.
That is iconic, Lucky, for sure.
So for me, man, once again, I don't really care. And here's the thing, man, it's like, it better be for good reason, because if you're just like, oh man, fuck it, he just wrote season 2 and 3 and he did all this work, he's a dick, fuck him. You know what I mean? Like, if it's just that, that's an embarrassment, and that's something that you don't have somebody put all this work in to a project and then just be like, hey, by the way, I did, fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, that's... So I feel like if they're trying to get ahead of something, right, like some of the rumors, to your point, Zeus, then that's understandable, right? You can't keep somebody on there that is doing horrendous things, nor would I support a show that has that. I don't support Ezra Miller as the Flash. It goes beyond acting. It's him as a person, right? So for me, I hope that that's the reason why they did that, but also, you know, it could just be a mobile thing. You know what I mean? And that's scary to think about, because it's like, imagine you're working for like 6 months, just doing whatever you can. And it was just like at the end of your shift, they're like, hey, by the way, buddy, yeah, you're fucked. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we're done. Yeah, I know you did all these great things for us, but like you're not. I liked the original X-Men series. I'm getting Deadpool and Wolverine. I don't really care. Hugh Jackman's my Wolverine. So for me it's like I'm cool with that. I'm cool with getting the live action suit. We don't need a retelling of something that was already good enough as is. So fuck off, Marvel. Try again. That's my take.
Derek, go ahead. You said something about big.
I was just gonna. So initially, when I heard the news, I assumed naturally it's got to be something big. If he's worked on all this stuff, he's got the scripts, the show. I mean, everyone's geared up and ready for X-Men 97. It has to be something big, and it has to be something that we're just not in on the loop with yet. Because I mean, you don't just fire somebody who's doing a great job out of the blue. Either they haven't told us, or it's just something that hasn't come to light yet. We talked a lot about TV series that we don't necessarily need or want, and I feel like this is my prediction for X-Men 97. People are going to be listening to the theme song and watching the intro more than they're actually going to be watching each episode of that series because of the nostalgia. That's the lore, and that's the reason people are interested in it. I mean, they were smart. The classic old TV trailer, and that X-Men song comes on, and it just gets your nipples hard, and you're like, yes, I love the 90s, you know. But no, I don't want it. I'm not interested. I guess it's supposed to be a continuation. I'm not really that interested in it. Will I check out an episode here or there? Yeah, probably. This is also why sometimes I miss cable TV, because I don't want to go out of my way to watch it. I wouldn't mind, stopping on it if I was flipping through the channels. But no, I don't know. I'm not too interested. At this stage with X-Men 97, I'm more interested in learning about why the creator gets fired versus actually watching the TV series.
I mean, why go back to X-Men 97 when we're waiting for X-Men 25, X-Men 26, X-Men 28, whenever the hell they're coming out, whenever they're going to introduce them to the MCU? The future's ahead of us. There's no reason to go back. I have some things that I would love to go back to, but I don't. I think, again, another thing that's completely unnecessary. It was great back then. There's a lot of times that when we revive things from the past, they don't hit like it did, even though we think it's going to. Talk about nostalgia, all right? We all collect something just to hold on to our childhood, to reminisce on things that we loved as a kid or a young teenager, and we just want that memorabilia to just glance at for a minute, to feel some sort of nostalgia for just a few seconds. Tons of people do, but again, it's not necessary. Like you said, Hugh Jackman, Ryan Reynolds together.
No, stop it.
In a movie.
Stop it.
That may be on top of
Why do you have lotion next to your... I'm so many freaking...
I came prepared.
Yeah, you
came prepared.
Well, I did. I heard Hugh Jackman was in the house.
Well, we're gonna digress from that. I will say I agree with the fact that I don't think this show was needed. Like you said, Jacko, revivals typically do not go well, especially from studios who don't exactly have the best of track records in recent years with their content. We have Deadpool and Wolverine, essentially the MCU debut of mutants. But what gave them the brilliant idea to have a non-MCU canon sequel revival of an old mutant series, to come out the same year? That seems like... What are you doing with the lotion? So distracted. Anyway, it seems like a contradictory. It's completely different than what DC does. What DC said was they canceled the Superman and Lois show because they didn't want two different versions of Superman competing at the same time. But Marvel's like, let's have them compete, whether they're canon or not. Seems like a bit of a shot in the foot. And then with the controversy or potential controversy, whatever the situation is with the creator, do we even want to watch it for nostalgia purposes? Do we even want to support this? We don't know how bad it is. We don't even know what this is. We've seen...
All we know right now is that he deleted his Twitter.
Yeah.
Deleted his Instagram. I don't know how many other social medias he had that he deleted, but the main ones he's deleted. So he went black. He went dark. He's in the dark now. And I mean, he was already black. So.
Oh,
I mean, you didn't have to laugh at it. Nobody would have known I was like saying.
I'm sorry. I try to hold it in. I'm sorry.
Oh, that was good.
He is black though. It's okay, guys.
He is black, but he's in the dark. All right, like he went. Never mind. Never mind. It's just that.
You were doing so good, and I ruined it. I'm sorry, man.
No, you know what? I probably shouldn't have said the things I said. it definitely was kind of maybe.
Regardless, it's getting clipped.
Derailing. It was derailing itself for sure.
A little off color.
Well, I think that's a good sign that we're about done here for this podcast episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. Maybe next one we talk about the MCU movies and shows that we have hot takes on. I know that's one Jacko and Lucky are excited to discuss with me, especially Lucky. But yeah, I mean, I think this was. Yeah, I
in Lucky's phase right now, in his phase of I don't care. I mean, yeah, it's a discussion I want to get into just to see what did they make you care about? You know what I mean? And then
care?
You just don't like a lot of things. So
hey, but I like a lot of stuff. That's a fact, Jack. Well, yeah, that's gonna be it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Captain Zeus. That was Lucky, Jacobite, and Derek. You'll probably see this rambunctious crew of nerds together again for sure. This was super fun. Not exactly the topics we were talking about, but just the vibes. And we'll catch you guys in the next episode. See ya.